what's up, everybody? It's Dan here. Welcome to another DanQ review Supershow, where I cover a few games in one large video for ease of access, lack of, reduction of uploads, that sort of thing. One-stop shop, so to speak, of finding all the reviews for the games I've done in recent weeks. So anyway, today we have two games that I'm reviewing. First off, we have Resident Evil Operation Raccoon City and Ninja Gaiden 3. At any point in time, you only want to see one of the reviews or whatever, you can click one of the annotations here, depending which one you want to go to. You can shut me up now and skip right to the next review, or if you want to see both, it doesn't matter. You can just let it play out, and you'll see both reviews in entirety. However, if you want to click at any time, see whatever review you want first, vice versa, go ahead and click one of the annotations. It'll take you straight there. So anyway, I'm going to start off first. First game we're starting off with is Resident Evil Operation Raccoon City, a game that kind of was extremely hyped. Everyone was psyched to play it, mainly because it was another Resident Evil game. However, it was different because it had a spin on it. It wasn't like the normal Resident Evil games that we played, up till now. It was completely different, and I'll explain in just a second. But let's do our summary for Resident Evil Operation Raccoon City. Resident Evil is available on Xbox 360, PlayStation 3, and soon coming in a few months, or next month, I can't remember, on PC. It is a third-person shooter game, which is really, well, obviously they've all been third-person shooters. However, this one was more squad-based, and it's different, trust me. It's developed by Slant 6 Games and Capcom, and then published by Capcom as well. Okay, so let's talk about Raccoon City. Okay, first, I'd like to mention the hype. There was lots of it. I mean, everyone's like, wow, we gotta get our hands on it. As you can see, like most games that have that offer some sort of, a special edition or collector's edition. As you can see, I got the Steelbook version of Raccoon City. And obviously there was enough hype and enough people would buy something like this, so they created it. Let's start off positively. I would like to say that Raccoon City does a great job at a co-op game. I'd like to put that. The co-op in this is really entertaining if you have people, because the campaign itself is different. Like, I did it solo. However, it would be a hell of a lot better if you did the co-op campaign in co-op, you know what I mean? Because you can have up to 4 people, and you can be a large variety of characters as a part of this, which was also different. So first I'd like to say it's great for co-op, and also it's really good for, it allowed you to play as a different side. You could play as Umbrella Corp, the USS, which is Umbrella Security, what is it? I can't remember what it stands for, but it was different because you were actually the bad guys for once, Your entire goal was to work for Umbrella. So that was a nice spin on things. You got a chance to play as a lot of other people. And the cool thing was, each character you played as, depending on what they were, they had their own personality and they had their own abilities. Now, these characters were class-based. So you had, say, one guy was an assault class, and they'd have focus on attack, right? So you'd have, they'd have a specialty where, they specialize in a special type of weapon, although most of the time it didn't matter who you played as, they just had a special ability, like armor, special armor, incendiary ammo, where you could equip one special ability at a time, and you can use it for a brief period, and you can upgrade them as you go on. So you collect experience, and you can spend experience to upgrade whatever character slash class that you like the most. Like, there's also a recon class, there was a demolitions class, there was a stealth class, and they all had their own special abilities, which was really nice, because depending what type of game you like to play more, you could use that to benefit your team. So there's a large variety of choices for whatever class you wanted, and you could upgrade and customize. Well, not so much customize, but you could customize with the weapons and skins. There were different weapons and different skins that you could use that set yourself apart from the other guy in the group, etc., etc. So that was really nice. Large variety of characters to pick from, lots of classes, a lot of different classes to suit whatever needs that you like, and the upgradable options as well. So that's that. In terms of graphics and sound, actually, before we move on, I would like to say I like the soundtrack of this game. It's very soothing. It's kind of a... I don't even know how to explain it, but it's kind of like a electronic style thing, but it's like a heavier electronic style music. It really suits the Resident Evil game. Like, as soon as the, it's quick, it's like drum and bass, kind of mixed with eeriness. It's really good. So I like the soundtrack of this game as well. So that was something that was really good about it. Anyways, as we were saying, okay, let's move on here. The graphics and sound, besides that, weren't all that special, but they weren't bad, so I'm just not going to lay them as a factor because they are run-of-the-mill, they're decent, they're average. So I'm going to leave them out. I would like to mention them, but they're not all that special, just for that reason. Okay, let's talk about the single player, or the campaign mode of it. The campaign, while it would be entertaining with co-op, it's ridiculously short. I beat the game, I think, in 4.5 hours. It only took me 18 parts to do it. Probably less if I didn't... I don't know, I had to stop for a minute and do something. But it's an extremely short campaign. I mean, I'm sure you'd have some fun if you played co-op with your friends, like I said, and replayed it, but there's no real story. Like I said, the campaign's too short. The story of it isn't that detailed. It's kind of lame. I mean, you get to see some heroes like Leon Kennedy and Ada Wong and what's his name? I should know this. I feel stupid. Oh God, what the hell's his name? I'm sorry, I can't remember his name. It starts with an H. He's on Umbrella Corp. What the hell's his name? The main hero and villain. No, not Hutch. I'm sure someone will correct me. I just can't remember his name for some reason. I'm sorry. But all these characters you've known from past Resident Evil games make their return briefly, not often, but you do get to see them from time to time, which was neat. They had nice cameos, which I'd like to put as a plus. They had famous Resident Evil cameos in there. For those, it wasn't just a basic run-of-the-mill shooter with Resident Evil slapped on. At least they paid homage to some of the older Resident Evil games, show where its roots were from. Anyway, moving back to that, there was no real story essence, like, honestly. It was pretty run-of-the-mill, you could just run through. If you weren't even paying attention, you get the same, probably, experience as if someone who was paying attention. So the storyline isn't too detailed. It's really just about the co-op gameplay of this game, and it's unfortunate, because I was rather upset with it. And other than that, moving on, there's also the multiplayer. Okay, this is where I was expecting things to shine for Resident Evil, especially, So, I jump in with a few people. Yeah, it's fun at first, but after a while it gets so repetitive. And I'm going to say this as well. Well, first, I'll say it first. The game gets repetitive, very repetitive. Once you've played something, it's like the same every time. But in terms of multiplayer, there are a wide variety of modes. One mode I really like called Survival, which was where you had to hold up for a certain amount of time, and then a helicopter would come in, and it's the first 4 people on the helicopter get to escape, no matter what team you're on. So you could be on one team and guard the helicopter landing pad for however long you need to, and then all 4 of you hop on. Or some cases that won't happen, and you'll have like 2 and 2, or 1 and 3, or things, or all 4, different combos of people. It was really cool trying to break for the helicopter, fighting the zombies. But other than that, there was a lot of modes that just were so kind of dull. I really didn't like them that much, because there was Team Deathmatch. I mean, the main goal behind these multiplayer modes is that you're supposed to kill the enemy team. However, there's tons of zombies running around. You do get, like, I think 10 experience points per kill on a zombie, but it just feels like they get in the way and they waste time, they distract you. So the multiplayer needed work, which is unfortunate, which is where I think this game was meant to shine. So other than that, though, the game, it was average. I like to say this game was average. It was okay at times. A lot of it, I was kind of disappointed. Like, let's recap really quick. The game, I mean, it's fun co-op. You've got a nice array of classes to pick from, choosing your character. You have also a lot of abilities, lots of things like that that you can upgrade. The upgradable options are always a plus for me, because I love to upgrade things and get the best of the best, The customization, that sort of thing. The soundtrack was really good. The fact that they have some heroes, from previous Resident Evil, heroes and villains from previous Resident Evil games in there. Really nice little homage to the past games, you know. And but yeah, other than that though, the game is very repetitive. This campaign's way too short. The storyline is dull. And the multiplayer gets boring pretty fast. It's kind of unfortunate. But honestly, the game's not terrible, but it's not good either. So it's kind of average for me. So when I rate this game, Resident Evil Operation Raccoon City, it was set up for high hopes and kind of like tripped. So I'm going to give Resident Evil Operation Raccoon City a 5.5 out of 10. Not a terrible score, but the game was overhyped, I felt. And a game, when you hype it that much, you expect it to be at least entertaining. It is for the first bit, but after a while, like, this is kind of boring, and I'm kind of done with it. So Resident Evil gets a 5.5 out of 10 from me. Could have been higher. I know a lot of people are probably surprised because they look at other reviews, and I'd like to say don't listen to all these mainstream reviewers, especially IGN, because they just smack the thing out there. I don't know why, but the reviews don't seem genuine, because I've seen Resident Evil gave this game like a, I can't remember what they gave, like a 4. It's not a 4, no way. That's like below average. This game is above average at a 5.5, considering 5 would be an average game, you know, run-of-the-mill factory. So it's above average, not the best, but it's not bad. It's entertaining, but it doesn't feel like the regular Resident Evil games. Just because it's a Resident Evil game, don't feel obligated to buy it if you're a Resident Evil fan, because this really doesn't do the series justice. So 5.5 out of 10 for Resident Evil Operation Raccoon City. Okay, so let's move on to our next title, Ninja Gaiden 3. I played, I think, one other Ninja Gaiden game, and that was Ninja Gaiden 2, and I never beat the game. So I was more or less a new to this series, generally, because I never really played it a whole lot. Now, no, I played Ninja Gaiden 1, my apologies, not 2, number 1. But before we go into that, let's talk about the summary here. Ninja Gaiden 3, available on Xbox 360 and PS3, and I think it's available on Wii U when Wii U comes out. I'm not sure, but that doesn't really matter. It is an action-adventure and hack-and-slash game, developed by Team Ninja and published by Tecmo. Okay, so what can we say about Ninja Gaiden 3? Ninja Gaiden 3 focuses on a story campaign, and I gotta say, the story mode, well, let me see. I'd like to point out by mentioning the graphics. The graphics are actually visually pleasing. A lot of Japanese-style games, they have a nice art scheme, and they know how to really develop a game, I really think, in terms of art and graphic-wise. So the graphics look really nice in this game. So I was happy with that. Visually pleasing, entertaining, realistic-looking stuff, you know. I enjoyed it, for that matter. But if we look at other things, like the campaign mode, a lot of people were bashing this game, especially IGN. IGN gave it a 3 out of 10. I don't know what their beefs were, but honestly, I understand where somebody's coming from. Like, this game is good for certain people. For me, this game is good. Like, I'm not saying the game is good, but you know what I mean. Like, this is a style of game that I could play. Because apparently from Ninja Gaiden 1 and 2, they dumbed down things a lot. Like, made it really easy, took out things that players loved. So, as a negative, I'll have to say that the fact that since I don't really know, it doesn't affect me, but it does affect others. The fact that you remove something that people love just to, accommodate a wider spread audience is kind of stupid. That's kind of what Mass Effect 3 did. Trying to turn it stray away from the RPG elements and go into a third-person shooter, more of a mainstream style game. That's what these guys tried to do, which was kind of bad. They tried to turn it mainstream by removing key elements that players loved about the first 2 games, and they also dumbed down the difficulty also to appease the mainstream audience. Now, there are multiple difficulties. There's the hero difficulty, which is basically just story. It's really easy. You have normal mode and then hard. So I'm sure you could play on hard, but people are telling me that hard is actually pretty easy to them if they've been playing Ninja Gaiden 3. So like the hard mode would be the equivalent of normal mode in the other Ninja Gaiden games, just to give you an idea. So in terms of difficulty, they dumbed it down. They took things away. That's why a lot of people were upset with this game. So as a negative, yeah, I have to agree, that's not good. But for me, I wasn't really affected, just because I never played the first 2 really all that much. So it was okay for me. How does the gameplay feel? The gameplay is good, excuse me, in the sense, it isn't too tough to get into. You know what I mean? Like I said, it is on the other side of that spectrum. It is good for newer players to the series because you can jump right in and pretty much start dominating. However, at the same time, Ninja Gaiden 3 kind of screws up a little bit in the sense that it doesn't really give you much of a tutorial. You kind of have to figure out controls on your own. You kind of have to adjust, really, because since the controls are so simple and you have to figure them out yourself, you're wondering, is that it, or am I missing out on stuff? You don't know, right? So there's that aspect of it, but also, it's so simple. There's not a whole lot in there. Meaning, there's not a whole lot of combos and moves. Like there's not much you can really do. It's really repetitive. That's another point. It gets repetitive after a while because you fight the same enemies all the time, and with the same controls, you could do different combos, but it doesn't really change because sometimes the enemies will block it or do something really retarded, and you're kind of hooped. So that also I'd like to bring up. One of the things I really hated was they just killed it in terms of they put too many enemies in a spot that didn't need that many enemies. So if you put one wave of enemies in each area, you'd be done this campaign in like, I don't know, 2 hours. I think the campaign was about 5 and a bit. More than 5. I think it's close to 6 hours long, which wasn't too bad. But when you think about that, because I don't know how many times I fought what I called the abominations, were those test subject type things where you had the giant brute and the skinny thing that I just hated because it was so irritatingly to hear that all the time, like you know, just non-stop. You're trying to fight and you got all these things going on. So the fact that you had to constantly kill them, you'd be damn near dead, and then you'd have another 2 waves to go without any save points or health. That was annoying. The lack of checkpoints in terms of that. Pretty much your save points were at the beginning of boss. No, at the start of a game, or when you use the bird. If you use an in-game checkpoint, say at the start of a boss battle, it would save if you died. But if you quit the game and just wanted to turn it off, or you're done playing for now, you'd have to start from your last bird save or from where the level started, depending on when it was, right? So that was kind of annoying. The save system wasn't that good either. I mean, it could have been improved. There could have been more, like there could have been a quick save element. I don't know why people are just abandoning this quick save element. It makes no sense. But the gameplay is pretty repetitive. What am I trying to say here? The amount of enemies in one area is ridiculous, especially with the save system. There's no health. You get health once you beat a certain amount of enemies, and you can use your, I call it the fucking. That's just the move. I can't remember it's got a Japanese name. But basically what it would do is that you'd turn into a dragon and pretty much eliminate all the guys in the area, or you'd have a special combo where you wouldn't have to do anything. You just have to activate it, and Ryu would do everything himself, and he would just attack nearby enemies with one hit, and you just, like, depending on what katana you unlocked, or you were using at that time, you'd hit more and more enemies. But it did get kind of annoying in that sense. However, I would like to talk about the storyline. The storyline was actually pretty good. It was easy to follow. It made sense. It was enjoyable. It was new. It was a unique environment. The fact that ninjas aren't a commonplace anymore, and they put them in urban society, it blended really neatly, really nicely, and I enjoyed it. I enjoyed the storyline of this game. It was quite entertaining. Let's move on. Okay, the game was good overall in terms of story. It wasn't bad. Like I said, though, I would like to point out that another positive was that when you did do these attacks, they were so brutal. Like, every time, I was laughing at the brutality of these moves, and I thought they were just awesome. Like, the moves are awesome. Just the blood, just the severity, and how quick Ryu is. It's insane. But at the same time, you have lack of weapons. You know, you only have a couple weapons, which you really only use the katana, which is kind of upsetting. Like, you do have a bow, but the bow only works on long-range guys, really. And then you have stars, ninja stars, which barely work on anybody unless you're hanging on a bridge and someone's peeking over and you throw them, it's an instant kill. Or you're hanging from a rope, you throw them, it kills them instantly too. Which is really funny, because I remember at one point, one enemy was a bigger guy, and he's like, "Oh, he is so dead!" I threw a little star at him, he's just done. It was the funniest thing. So there's a lot of funny moments in this game, just because the gameplay was just like, you know, it's like Achilles, you know, with his heel. "Oh, you are dead!" Ping! Dead. it was just so funny. Just this tiny little ping, and the guy's done. So there are a lot of funny moments that way. But let me go into the multiplayer. When you first play multiplayer, it's really fun. Like, honestly, it's a neat idea. It's a gong show. There's, like, possibly eight or more ninjas going at it, like, crazy. It's just crazy fun. It's awesome. And as you go and you level up, you get new apparel, new emblems, new weapons, new colors, new abilities, new moves, things like that. It's really cool as you start going. There's one huge flaw with the multiplayer. There's only 3 maps. And 3 maps, small area. Like, each area is like this. You have like a squared area, the main area, where everyone pretty much pretty much fights. And then you have outer rim areas where there's just a thin amount of things. Like, for example, the snow level, where you have a giant middle section and a complete border around it, so it's a giant circle. Then there's the ninja village level, where you have a big area here, and there's trails that go like this, like S trails. So there's nothing major there. And then you have that, there's one more. The jungle level, where you have like a giant pillar in the middle, and everything around it, and that's all you fight in. So there's only 3 of them. So there's lack of variety in the multiplayer, which is really unfortunate, because the multiplayer is actually fun. So, let's look back, because I pretty much summed up everything I can. The game looks good. It was really fun to play, with the brutality of the moves, it was just so comical sometimes. Just really entertaining moves, if that makes sense. And you had a good storyline that you could follow easily. You have, what am I trying to say? Entertaining multiplayer, really fun But on the other hand, you also have kind of repetitive gameplay. The save system could be better. The ridiculous amount of enemies in one area gets repetitive, so the repetitive gameplay that adds on to that. And, the fact that the multiplayer has barely any modes, there's only like 2 modes, and one's a time trial, and the other one you just kill a bunch of ninjas, and there's only 3 maps that are really tiny maps, too. So you won't spend too much time playing the multiplayer of this game, I guarantee it. Like, once you've played for an hour and a half, 2 hours, you're done. So, that's an unfortunate thing. However, Ninja Gaiden 3 really did well. I enjoyed it. I thought it was fun. Besides the fact that some people think it's an insult to the Ninja Gaiden franchise because it dumbed down the difficulty, because it removed certain elements that people liked. However, I enjoyed it. I don't think it should get a 3 like IGN. I think it's a good game. It's worth, I don't know if it's worth a buy, but you know what, I'll just tell you my rating, and then you guys can decide from there. So I'm going to give Ninja Gaiden 3 a 6.5 out of 10. Not a bad score. It's more than above average, for sure. It's better than Resident Evil 5's rating, or Resident Evil Operation Raccoon City's rating. You'll probably enjoy this game more than Resident Evil, depending on your game style. However, since I like a large variety of games, this was a good game. Not the best. It dropped on its face a few times, but it was fun, and I enjoyed, especially the single player. That was a lot of fun. So I'm giving Ninja Gaiden 3 a 6.5. That's what I think it deserves. So, thanks everybody for sticking with it. Hope you enjoyed another episode of the DanQ review, the Super Show. Again, if you missed anything or whatever, you can go ahead and click any of the reviews at any time if you wanted to see them. I hope these were informative for you. Hope they allowed you to make a decision on what you want to do. I appreciate you watching. Hope you like, favorite, comment. It all helps out greatly. Subscribe too. Helps out immensely. So thanks everybody for watching. Let me know what you think of these ratings. Let me know your thoughts on the games. I'd love to hear them. So thanks everybody once again. Take it easy. I'll see you guys for more games. So thanks guys. I'll see you later.